Good question. Great question, as a matter of fact. There's a lot of folks who see other people who have scaled their business up and they have employees and also, and they go, that's what I want. And they go down that road and it like crashes and burns and they hate it. So when I was in the automotive industry, the mistake that was made time and time again, year after year after year, was they would take, for example, the best engineer in the engineering department, and they would do the worst possible thing you can do to that guy or gal, and they would promote that person to the manager of the engineering department. And now they're not doing engineering, they're managing engineers, and they're horrible at it. They hate it, and most engineers stereotypically are not people person. They're data crunchers, they're very introverted and all that. So it doesn't always work out so well. The same thing happens in business, and in real estate's no exception, is you get good at marketing, you get good at finding deals, you get good at negotiating with sellers, you get good at doing the renovations and dealing with contractors and then selling it. And then you try to grow, and pretty soon you're hiring people and you're trying to teach them and manage them to do what you're good at, but maybe managing people isn't where you want to be, and that's ultimately when you scale a company up, you're a manager of people. I don't think Steve Wozniak was putting together computers after a few years, right? They were hiring people and somebody else was doing it. And he was more of an administrator, managerial kind of person. That doesn't suit everybody. And so to answer your question directly, because I'm not trying to avoid it, is, if you want to take a real basic kind of just sort of a dumbed down example, is you can do, maybe let's just say 10 deals is what's realistic and reasonable for one person to do 10 flips. And you can keep it all and not have this overhead, or you can do 30 and you can hire a team and not have to do anything and make similar profits, right? But now you're not doing it, you're managing it, you need more deals coming in, that's true. But I was attracted to, and I partnered with somebody, the guy that I talked about, the pharmaceutical sales guy who I hired as a salesperson, I ended up bringing him in as a partner, a 50-50 partner, because I liked the idea of not having to do the work every single day. Like, I don't want to be in the trenches. I don't want to be on the treadmill. I would rather even make a little less to have a company that has a team and it's running and it doesn't require my involvement for more than a few hours a week. That's what I want. I know it requires that I have payroll and there's other headaches that go along with it. But when I was in the automotive industry, I was in a mid-level management. I can manage people. I'm okay with that. What I don't want to do is I don't want to have to drop everything to go run and talk to a seller because they're ready to sell. I don't want to be in that position. I have kids. They're a little older now. I'm getting older, frankly. And the older I get, the more my time means to me. So if I could make $500,000, do it all myself and run around like crazy all day long, or make $200,000 and have a team, I'm fine with that. I'm good with that. So it's different for everybody. It depends on what you want. Don't scale up because it seems sexy and that's what other people are doing. That's the wrong reason to do it. But if you go into it, eyes wide open, you're gonna have to hire and manage people. And by the way, when you hire and manage people, that means you're going to be firing people too. You will be firing people. And that's, some people just don't have the stomach for that. I don't love doing it, but I know that it has to happen. And you know what? By the way, we talked about metrics for a second, or I mentioned it. If you're tracking metrics and you're sharing that with your team and everyone's aware of what the numbers are and what's happening, nobody is usually surprised when they get let go. If they're not performing and it's been kind of documented week after week after week, and you've talked to them and you've tried working with them, most times people come to you and say, this isn't working. I think I'm going to take another job. So it's not as bad. It's just when you hold it all in, you say, oh, everything's great, but you're stewing under the surface. And then you come to them and say, you're fired. Like, that's awful. That's when tears happen and arguments and, it gets really ugly. So it doesn't have to be that way, but we're big on tracking our numbers. So you asked me a while back, a long-winded answer. What did Andy tell me? He helped me learn how to hire, when to hire. He definitely taught me about metrics, KPIs, tracking. What do you track in a real estate company? That's huge. You wouldn't fly a plane without an instrument panel. You may know you're in the air. You don't know if a mountain's coming, a building is coming, or the ground is coming. Like, you don't know what's happening. You need the instrument panel. You need those those things to tell you. And in business, it's your metrics, it's your KPIs. So KPIs are huge. Culture, company culture. I thought when you hired people, you brought them in, dumped a lot of work on their plate, paid them fairly, and said go, and they would do it. I'm real bad. When someone comes to my company early on, I would say, there's the goal line. You see it? It's about 100 yards away. There's the goal line. Go get that, and just do it any way you want. I don't care. Just go, right? That's not how you train people. That doesn't really work, right? I'm not great at training. So that's something I had to get better at. And that culture, You may have a company of 2, you may have a company of 5, maybe a company of 10, but how many of those people love coming into work? How many people those love when you call? How many people look forward to answering that phone? Like, what is the personality of your company? If it's bad, people are not going to want to stay around, right? And you're going to burn through good people. I burned through a couple of people that I look back and go, they were really good employees. They would have been great to have on the team right now, but I wasn't a good leader back then. And I burned through them, and they left because I was unrealistic in what I was asking them to do. So, Andy helped me with a lot of that stuff, and it made all the difference.
Hey, thanks for joining for this segment of the interview with Mike Simmons. If you want to check out the full interview on the podcast, go to the Living Off Rentals podcast on any podcast player. You can also join us in the Living Off Rentals Facebook group. It's an awesome community. You can ask your questions or start a conversation. I hope to see you there, but if not, I will see you in the next video.